want me to talk about? He goes, I don't know. I said, I don't think anybody's ever given me a microphone and not told me what to say. I said, this would be good. I think, following up on what Steve said, I can talk a little bit about the BS side of John, but not the before Seguin, it's the real BS side. The first time I met John, I think I started 6 days or so before John did, and John was walking around upstairs, and I was a new 20-something-year-old student accounting director, and I would see him, and then I'd see him later in the day, and he kept switching ties. He had a bow tie on, and he had a real tie, and he had a bow tie, and he had a real tie. I was going, what is this guy doing? Well, there was a going away reception, and I realized that Harold and John were two different people. Sorry, Harold. Man, these guys from New York are different, and they change their tie all the time. So, Harold, I'm sorry about that. That was my first getting to know John. I later got the opportunity to play in the Harleys with John and Greg, and John and Greg had this camp coming to, and they said, hey, we're going to do a band, you want to play? And I said, yeah. And they said, you got to play the bass. I said, I don't have a bass. They said, well, borrow one. I said, I don't know how to play a borrowed bass. And they go, well, you got to play the bass. So they were very kind and allowed me to join them, and we had some great times doing some really fun stuff, and made a difference in this community, and that's John and Greg have taken that, and along with Mike and Matt, and done a great thing for our town, and I appreciate that, and thank you guys for sticking with it. It's fun to come and listen to you guys play. The funniest story about this, you know, we were trying to decide on the name, and John kept going, let's be the Spoon Jobs, let's be the Spoon Jobs. So we were talking, and the coolest thing any of us owned was his Harley. And so we said, we'll be the Harleys. And then it was a kind of a running joke forever that, you know, Harley Davidson is going to sue us one of these days. And sure enough, Greg comes running into Beck Center one day going, look what I got, look what I got. And it was a letter from Harley Davidson counsel, Andrew Stevenson, with a cease and desist notice, and using the name and all those kind of things. Well, we happened to run into Mr. Steve Anderson, and he's like, what are you guys doing? And we told him, he's like, hey, I'll help you, can I come with you? What are you looking for? And, you know, long story short, he's Andrew Stevenson, and you still got one coming, buddy. That was a fun joke. A little bit after that, I got the opportunity to work for John, and we embarked on a lot of building on this campus, and lots of changes were made in his tenure here, and he made a difference in how we do our budgeting and pushing faculty salaries forward, and how the campus looks. And it was fun to work for him. I'd walk in and say, John, sign this, and he would sign it, and he started calling me Radar finally from MASH. And, but we got along great. John taught me several things while I worked for him. Being my boss, he got to do my review. And the first review I got, I went home and I told my wife, I said, he said that I make people cry. I said, I don't make people cry, do I? She goes, yeah, you make people cry. And I said, well, I don't know how to deal with that. And later in his evaluation, he said, you need to not take your job so seriously. And I went, how do you not take your job seriously? But his old wisdom, I've learned to understand what you meant in that evaluation, and I thank you for telling me that all those years ago, even though it takes a Texas Aggie boy 10 years to figure it out. Finally, you know, the thing I admire about John is that I could be friends with a 60-year-old New York hippie. How cool is that? We were going to lunch one day, and that's what I was thinking about. He was talking and saying, did you read this author and this? And I'm going, yeah, I know that author. I got no idea what he's talking about. We could argue about politics or theology or whatever, and sometimes we argue just to argue, but it was a great relationship, and I'm going to miss being able to do that or call you on the phone and go, hey, John, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm talking to you. He said that every time I ever called him. So when I call you, please say that so I can remember those things. So I will remember John Masterson as a man of honesty and integrity, and somebody that I admired and looked up to and still do. And so tonight, in his retirement ceremony, I ask you to raise your glass with me. Congratulations, John, on a career well done. Salute. Salud.